This is Santana Garrett, and you're listening to the Fans View Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View Podcast. This episode, I have a 16-year veteran that has appeared in WWE, TNA, AEW, WOW, Stardom, any indie of notoriety. She's probably been there once. She's been all over the world. She's been on the top 250 PWI list more times than I can remember. And she's literally the nicest person I think I've ever met. Please help me welcome this week's guest, Santana Garrett. Santana, how are you doing? It's been so long.
Life is good. I cannot complain. I didn't realize I've been wrestling 16 years, but I guess it has been. My goodness. And you forgot to introduce little Riley girl, who's been making a lot of appearances on my Instagram stories because she is the neediest little wiener dog that ever existed.
But the cutest, too, so she can get away with it.
Fair.
People, please understand that it was just a mistake. Appreciate Riley as well.
Forgiven.
My goodness.
Forgiven.
Santana, I'm so glad you could make time to do this. We've been trying to put this together for like the better part of a year, but you're such a busy woman.
Honestly, you know what? It's probably been longer than that. And I just don't do a lot of interviews. I enjoy it. You know, once we start, I really enjoy them. However, I don't really do many.
Well, then I feel even more humbled and appreciative than I did when we started.
'Tis an honor and a privilege.
'Tis an honor. It is all my honor and all my privilege. But I'm just going to jump into it because I know you're a busy lady. Let's just start from the beginning. I want to play the Santana Garrett greatest hits because nobody watching this is a bigger Santana fan than me.
Oh.
So just to start from the beginning, obviously, some people don't know maybe that you're actually a second generation wrestler. You know, your father was TNT Kenny G. What was it like growing up as a young lady and as a young woman, you know, with a dad as a professional wrestler?
It was super cool. I remember, and I've told this story before, but for those who don't know my story and my come up, I was in elementary school and the teacher went around the room asking everybody what they wanted to be when they grew up. And while some of the kids were like, "Oh, I want to be a doctor," or the little girls were like, "I want to be a ballerina," the teacher got to me and I was like, "When I grow up, I want to be a professional wrestler just like my dad." With a little bit of that country accent because I am from Ocala, Florida. But yeah, it's been a dream of mine from a young age, and it was very cool watching him pursue his dream and me getting to be a part of it, and eventually it becoming my dream.
Absolutely. And that was my next question. Obviously, you were exposed to the business very early. When do you think you fell in love with the business?
Well, I mean, I was probably in the first grade. I remember my parents divorced when I was 4 years old. My mom would send me to school in these like poofy sleeves, big dresses. But then I'd go to my dad's house and I'd get to wear like my Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirts. And that was just like the coolest thing for me. So it was also something that with my parents being divorced, with me having a ton of siblings, I've got 2 sisters and 5 little brothers. It was rare that either any of us got one-on-one time with either of our parents, but wrestling was that one-on-one time for me and my dad. So I have to say I was probably in the first grade, and I've been in love with it ever since. And while going to my dad's events, he would wrestle and I would help like at the door selling tickets or with popcorn, anything I could do, bringing the gear jackets back to the back, whatever I could do to be a part of it. It was just always really, really exciting for me.
Absolutely. That sounds like so much fun. Even at my age, I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
would love to bring the gear jackets back.
You know what? Let's put in some applications.
There we go. There we go. Who were some of your favorites growing up? Obviously, we're about the same age, so you were a child of the new generation of WWF.
You're 26 as well?
20, yeah, I was 25, 24.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
absolutely.
Yeah, I started wrestling when I was 2 years old.
Absolutely.
But
Don't do the math, people. We got it.
right, yeah. So some of my favorite wrestlers growing up, obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then Trish Stratus, Lita. Those are probably my top three. And
Okay.
years later, I was actually able to meet Trish and Lita, and it was just a very surreal moment. I'm not like a fangirl when it comes to like celebrities and whatnot, but standing between the two of them, I really was. Inside, I was dying.
I think we've all had that moment with Trish and Lita, so that's fair.
Yeah.
And that's funny you say Stone Cold because when I think Santana Garrett, and we're going to get to this later in the interview too, but when I think Santana, like I think in the most nice way, squeaky clean, like just family friendly. I just can't see little Santana running around shooting the bird and everything else.
And you're not wrong. Like I've always been this. This is me. I am goofy. Yeah. I am cheesy. I am super PG. I am sunshine and rainbows. And I don't drink. I don't cuss. Like I literally do not say bad words. I actually said a-hole the other day, and the girls at my office looked at me, and I said it in front of my son. He looked at me. He's like, I cannot believe you just said that. You don't say bad words. I'm like, well, is that considered a bad word? He's like, kind of. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I felt guilty for saying a-hole. So we don't say that word either, apparently.
Oh, you are just an angel, I swear. And it's legitimate, people. Like, this is really who she is.
But maybe it's because, like, Stone Cold, he's so cool. And he's still so cool. Like, it's still a dream to tag with him. So, Stone Cold, if you're listening, I'm ready when you are. But I think it's because, like, it is everything I'm not, essentially. Like,
yeah,
so different.
That absolutely makes sense. One day, though, we're going to have beer-swilling Santana come to the ring, shooting birds, giving stunners.
I'll give this finger, and I'll have juice boxes. And then crush it on my head.
You know what? That's just as entertaining. Sign me up for that.
It'll be fun.
So in my research, and I have to dig, because like you said, you don't do a lot of interviews, so I was like, I got to give her something nobody else really asked her about. Competitive cheer. I never saw that coming.
Ready? Okay. Yeah. I mean, really, I come from a small town, and so when we say competitive cheer, it really
Football game Fridays.
Everybody probably made the team for the most part, and I think it was helpful with my gymnastics background. I could do, the round off back handsprings. I could do the toe touches and whatnot. That's actually how I broke my my nose for the first time. I broke my nose like 3 times. Yeah. Yeah, sure did.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was a perfect segue. Competitive cheerleading, gymnastics, fitness modeling. Like you did it all before you really got going with your wrestling career. During that time, was that like one of those situations where maybe you kind of faded away from wrestling, or was your fandom still intact at that point?
I feel like I've always had a love and a passion for professional wrestling. Obviously, middle school, high school, no, I even loved it then. And you know what? People were not accepting, and I didn't care. I really didn't care. I was nice to everybody. I was friends with everybody. I didn't have like a certain group. And I didn't care. I was in art. I was friends with the art kids. I was in cheerleading, so I was friends with the popular girls. But no, I've always had a passion for it. Now there was a time that my dad was a wrestling promoter, and then he wasn't for a while. And I mean, he's got a past. So, yeah, so he has a past.
We'll leave it at that. That's fine.
So there were times that he was gone for a while, and we can talk about that a little bit more, maybe if it comes up. But that was probably the only time that I was kind of away from it for an extended period of time. But my
Right.
love never faded.
So, when did you decide? Obviously, you were a lifelong fan. You were in the business, sort of on the outskirts, on the fringe. When did you decide, like, this is what, not what I wanted to do with my life, but you decide this is what I'm gonna do with my life, and you start to pursue it? When did that kind of start to happen?
Okay, so it started to happen. You said I've been wrestling 16 years. So what year would that make my debut?
2009.
Ah, you're good. Okay. So in 2009, I was living in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm from Ocala, Florida, born and raised, small town, Central Florida. But I moved to St. Louis, Missouri to go to school. I was going to school at Washington University. I was working two full-time jobs, one at St. Louis University as a sleep technologist, another one at an accessory store, Claire's, as a manager. So I was juggling a night shift job, day shift job, working double. And I don't know why I was doing that, all putting all
Great.
that on me while going to school.
Gosh. Yeah.
And then I decided, you know what? I am probably gaining a little bit of weight, not in the best shape. I know I can be better and I know I can do more, but really now that I think about it, oh my gosh, that was so much. So I
Yeah.
decided like, oh, there's a wrestling school down the road from my apartment at the time. Let me just go try it. If nothing else, it'll be just, a workout for me.
Right.
Tried it, loved it, was hooked. That was in St. Louis with Dynamo Pro. One of my first days, they had me flipping big old tractor tires out in the dirt, had me taking a bunch of bumps. And that was a time that there weren't many, like at all, many females in the
Yeah.
business. But
Yeah.
one of them in the Midwest was Mischief. And I just thought, man, she's the real deal. And at the time, I want to say she was the NWA World's Women Champion. And I met her and I just like that was probably the moment that I'm like I want that. Not only that championship, but just what she had.
Right. Absolutely. So, where you said you started your wrestling training when you were out in the Midwest?
Yep, I had probably less than 2 months of training under my belt and I'd already made my debut. So you better
Oh
believe
my.
it was a five-star match.
Well, that's my very next question. Like, how prepared did you feel coming out of wrestling school, for your first match? Do you recall that first match?
Yes. Yeah, I very much recall that first match. Okay. So let's go. Let's point out a couple highlights of said match.
I'm so
Um
excited for this.
oh goodness gracious. Okay. So 2 months, probably less. Maybe I'm being very generous. Let's say a month and a half of training. But at the time, there were zero females on the independent wrestling scene.
Right.
And so I had my first match. It was for my dad's promotion, High Voltage Wrestling, out of Granite City, Illinois. Tiny little venue, and I wrestled. I don't. I some of like an indie girl that really didn't wrestle outside of Granite City.
Right.
And I didn't know anything. I knew how to do moonsault though. And so I wrestled her. I remember coming out. And so the most positive part of it and the most memorable part of it, and really like a moment that I will cherish forever, is when I came through the curtain for the very first time and I saw my dad standing on the side there, just like holding in tears. And I just like, he was so proud of me. I was so proud of myself. And that's something I will cherish forever. Like, it's such a moment that will forever be like a core memory for me.
I love
So we talked about the positive. Let's talk about funny stuff. So
that.
I do my match and I don't know how to work a hard cam. There probably wasn't a hard cam if I'm being real. I don't know how, like, my gear was my sister's bathing suit that had like a two-piece bathing suit that had like a flap on the waistband. So I put the bathing suit on, put little black shorts there, and then I safety pinned the flap over as like a waistband, and it was red. I'll give you pictures. And then the bathing suit top, I had like a black sports bra underneath my bathing suit top, and I had black like knee-high socks. So it was real cute. And
I
my
love
sister was
that.
so mad because I didn't ask. I did not ask to wear her swimsuit, and she was not happy. So that was my first set of gear. And then I go wrestle. It wasn't the worst. Honestly, it could have been a lot worse. However, I get to the finish, my standing moonsault. Well, I didn't know about ring positioning. The
Oh
girl's like
God.
close to the ropes, super close to the ropes.
Oh
So I did
no.
it anyway because you know what? That's my finish. It's the end of the
That's
match.
it. That's
And
it.
yeah, I like kind of flopped, hit the ropes a little bit, and I covered her like 1, 2, 3, and I don't know if it was
Oh,
a legal win or not because half my body was probably under the ropes, but ref
hey,
counted it, so
if
I
you
won.
counted three, it's official. It's in the book.
Okay, yeah.
Was this Mia Martinez by any chance?
Yes.
Look at this crack
Yes.
fans view research team. I'm telling
Yes.
you what.
Yes. Oh, we should probably take out that little section where I was like, I don't know. I don't know. You can edit that to make it not be offensive
I'll take
or
care of
not,
it.
and just add this part. Concussions, y'all. Concussions.
CTE is real, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you're one of a kind, Santana. I
Oh,
love you.
thanks. Thank you.
Um, some might say your real first big break, in professional wrestling was maybe in 2012 when you started working for Shine. Obviously, at that point they were, I want to say, a brand new company.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were on the first show.
Yep.
How did that opportunity come about that you got set up with Shine?
Well, okay, yeah, I am a Shine original. I would say though, before that even, I mean, I did a year with Impact um as a valet. And again, I
Okay.
wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
Yeah,
And then I did a couple other things. I'm not sure. I guess I did Shine first and then I won the NWA title.
you did.
Okay. You
You
tell
did.
me what I've accomplished in my life and the timeline because
I
clearly
got you.
only one of us
As
know.
as long as the internet's not lying to me, I
Perfect.
got
Yeah.
you.
Believe everything you read on the internet. It's all
as
it's all
long
true.
as long as it's good and it's pro Santana,
Yeah.
we're here for it.
Perfect. So yeah, I am a Shine original. I've worked prior to that, I worked for a lot of independent promotions, and like we
Yeah,
previously discussed, there weren't very many females at all
yeah.
on the independent scene. So I think in the state of Florida, it was me for the most part, me, Leva Bates, and Christina
Mhm.
Von Erie. Pretty much regularly, it was me and Leva or me and Christina. Like
Yep.
that was kind
It's
of it. Now we've
exactly
got the
right.
Malaya Hasakas, we've got Lexi Fife, and we have some other girls that would wrestle. But for the most part, I was booked against Leva or CVE. And so I think I caught the attention of a lot of the local promoters, pretty
Mhm.
much each promoter in Florida, whether it's South Florida, Central Florida, North Florida, they would bring me in. They're like, okay, new girl has a little bit of potential. She can do a moonsault. Let's make her our champion. And
Yeah,
so I feel like that kind of built up my presence. And this was 16 years ago. So this was before like Instagram and social media was
yeah.
like a major platform to be able to promote myself. So this was all word of mouth. And
Yep.
then the funniest thing is my dad used to run this territory as well. So everybody, they knew my dad, but when they found out, like, oh, wait, that's Kenny G's daughter? And they expect me to be, if you know my dad, he cussed like a sailor. You either loved him or hated him. He would give you the shirt off his back, or he would threaten to pour a cup of gasoline down your throat. Like it could go one way or another. So here I am, this sweet small town girl.
Yeah.
And people would find out that I'm TNT Kenny G's daughter, and they were just always like, that was my favorite thing, the reaction that I would get.
That is amazing. Obviously, like you said, you've been there with Shine since day one. Do you have any like the craziest thing you've seen on a Shine show? Because I've been to one or two. I'm located up here in South Carolina.
Mhm.
I've seen some stuff at some Shine shows. I've seen Sue Young almost take a header off the balcony.
Oh
I've seen
yeah.
some crazy stuff. Do you have any wild Shine
Like
stories?
what else? I want to hear your
Oh my
stories.
gosh, I'm trying to think. Now that you put me on the spot,
I'll
the
I'll go.
craziest, the
I'll
craziest one
go.
was Soraya.
Oh, okay. Oh, she's the best and the worst. Like
Yes.
she terrifies me. Yet she's so sweet.
Yeah,
And I love her. But
that's the
I'm also
experience I had
terrified.
too.
And I'm not scared of a lot of things. No, but
If
I
you
love her. She's
weren't,
like,
if you weren't, I'd be worried about you because she is absolutely terrifying. Yeah, I watched her with a kendo stick hang Sue Young off the balcony of
yeah.
I'm gonna butcher it. Is it Ybor City?
Yep, Ybor City.
Yeah, yeah. I watched that.
Good.
That was wild.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So one of my like I have many highlights throughout the years because again, Shine Original, I wrestled for them all the way up until I signed with NXT and WWE. And then even a couple times after I was released. But I want to say before I signed with WWE, I was in a feud with Priscilla Kelly,
Mm,
and it was cool. Like her and I had so much chemistry because we were like yin and yang, and
yeah.
we did like we were on the bar back and forth, like beer was going every. Ooh, my Stone Cold moment. My
Yeah.
Stone Cold moment. I was in
There
jean cut
you.
off shorts. This
There it is.
this all makes perfect sense. Full
There it
circle.
is.
Full,
I
I
love
was
that
having
realization you had too,
I was having my Stone Cold moment. Oh,
and
it was so great.
and didn't
Um,
even realize it.
but that was really cool. We had the street fight, and we literally went on the streets of Ybor City and continued the battle, and that was just really cool. And I feel like it allowed fans to see a different side of me, which
Yeah,
typically, you know what, like if it's not broke, like why try to fix it? Like
obviously, yeah.
I'm a good baby face. I'm likable. I appeal to men, women, and children. But I can also play a sassy heel. Now,
Yeah,
as
you
long as there
can.
are no bad words in the script, we're all good. Or I have to like really trash talk.
Yeah.
It's but
I've seen you as a heel, and you are a deceptively good heel. I'm trying to
yeah.
remember the name of the promotion, and it's Fest Wrestling. I watched
Oh,
you as a heel. I was
yeah.
like, oh, I didn't know Santana had that in her.
Yeah, I'm having flashback to that. One time I
Uh,
worked for Fest, I had the biggest wedgie of my life, my entire match.
I think was that pickle. That was pickle in a tree.
I think so.
That's that's the event I'm.
That's my wedgie.
That's the event I'm talking about.
That
Yep.
being my wedgie.
That God bless. God bless. That fest crowd did not care. Trust me.
Yeah, I know.
If
They loved it.
if anything, it helped you at the merch table. But obviously, your career was just getting started. That was 2012 when Shine, started up. 2013, you kind of seemed like you started flirting with WWE a little bit. I think you worked this young upstart, this Charlotte character. I hope she worked out in the business. Um,
Yeah, never heard of her.
yeah. Do you have any memories from working with Charlotte Flair in your first time in NXT?
So I think I want to say like that was a time that they didn't really they weren't bringing in extra talent. So the
Right.
interest was there. They brought me in multiple times. Like I would come, I would have my gear, I'd be ready and eager.
Yep.
And then a lot of times it just there wasn't an opportunity, which is fine. I was still there. I was present. They could kind of get to know like who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Know that I'm professional, I'm kind, and just kind of willing to put in the work.
Right.
So yeah, it was cool, and like I'm honored that they would bring me in so frequent, even though I didn't have the matches.
Yeah.
Because I got to meet a lot of people, and then obviously to say that I got to wrestle Charlotte Flair in one of her first matches, one of her first TV matches, like that's an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's
Absolutely.
freaking Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, I mean I remember seeing you because I was at the time when I was going down there, and you were at like every taping. We didn't see you very often, but you were at
Yeah,
like every
yeah.
taping. Um, so after you dip your toe in the NXT water, Big Bad Santana signs with her first big three-letter company. That's when you went to Impact, or it was TNA, I think. Well, it might have been Impact. Either way,
Yeah.
TNA, Impact, the Owl, and you became Brittany, which was
Yeah.
that was different.
Brittany, no last name.
There you go, just Brittany, kind of like Prince.
Yeah.
Um, Impact wasn't at its peak, to say the least, at that
Yeah.
point. Neither was women's wrestling. I do
Mm-hmm.
recall you having let me get this right, a tag team elimination evening gown match.
Oh,
I'm sure Meltzer loved that. Um,
okay.
what was your experience like in Impact? Obviously, like you came in with a lot of like everybody was very excited. And then it seems like Impact kind of dropped the ball with you. But what was your experience like working for them?
Um, so, uh, with Impact, like it's incredible, like especially when it comes to like the women's wrestling, how far they've come
Yeah,
and what they are today. And
yeah,
my gosh, like some really talented girls are there right now. Um, that was a time that like it just was a different time. And I was the new girl. I wasn't ready and nothing and no one prepared me for that. And that's okay. Like
yeah.
that's okay. Here's the thing. And I'll go a little bit deeper, but that's why I'm so like compassionate about new girls and about up and comers and like I know because I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
So like I'm forgiving because I've been in your shoes. Like I am a female and I've already gone through all of this and now times are much different, but like I was trained by men. I didn't know locker room etiquette. So I had a lot of things to overcome.
Yeah.
So my first day I came and did paperwork and then it was my friend's birthday and the person that had me do paperwork was like, "Okay, yeah, you can leave." So I left, but
Oh,
etiquette would be, "No, you stay."
right.
But she told me to leave. And so that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And it just kind of wasn't a good start. It wasn't a
Right.
good first impression. And so maybe I wasn't ready, but also maybe I was naive and I didn't know. Like
Right.
I didn't know. So that rubbed people the wrong way. There was almost like an intervention, we should call it, with all the women, most of the women on the roster at the time. And so I'm being reprimanded and saying that I'm not grateful for the opportunity. And, I took it, I listened, I took it.
Right.
And all I could say is, I'm sorry. That's not it at all. Like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. And I didn't mean any disrespect and I truly just didn't know.
Didn't know.
But I
Right.
know in time that you will see my character, the true Santana Garrett, and you'll realize like I'm not a bad person. I'm super grateful for this opportunity and I'm eager to learn from all of you and I
Right.
am so grateful to be here. And if you don't like know right now, I think eventually you will. And so it was just kind of like that was the start of my year at TNA at Impact, and fortunately, it did get easier. People eventually started to like me and to have some level of respect for me. But yeah, it was not easy. It was not fun. Like some of these people that I like looked up to for so many years being reprimanded by them, but it's
Yeah.
just a part of it, and it's a learning experience. And I think that's why I'm so compassionate about the newer girls, the up and comers, because again, I've been there. I've been
Yeah.
in their shoes, and if nobody teaches them, like then that's on us. That's on the
Right.
veterans,
Yeah.
If we don't
Exactly.
educate them, how will they know, you
Right.
know?
You can't learn the unwritten rules unless somebody teaches you
Yeah.
the unwritten rules.
Yeah.
Do you think that heat ever really subsided, or do you kind of chalk that up as to why you weren't there long term, or what was the
Um,
situation like?
no, because eventually things were good.
Okay.
I was offered another year I was offered to renew the contract, but I think that was the time that they were no longer going to be on Spike TV. They were moving to like the Guide channel.
Oh yeah,
And so
yeah, I
I
remember
just
that.
feel like it was time for me to kind of explore other options. So it was pitched, but I declined that offer.
Okay.
Grateful for my time there. Again, great learning experience. And then you talked about the gown match, right?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
where like you lose your gown?
Yep.
That was that match, right?
Yep. Yep.
So young and young me was even like more PG and just like, oh my gosh, they're asking me to do what? To be in my bra and underwear? Meanwhile, like bra and underwear, that's basically what a lot of the women's wrestling gear looked like
Wrestling,
anyway,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, especially at that time, yeah.
But I remember Madison Rain, I think she at that point knew like my character and kind of like who I was. And when I say my character, like truly who I am to a core,
Right.
not professional wrestler Santana
Not your
Garrett,
gimmick,
just Santana
right.
Garrett, right? As a
Yeah.
person. And she called me after we got the email that that's the match we were going to be in, and she says, "Hey, how do you feel?" And like I get goosebumps talking about it because I'm just like, I'm so grateful. That's the first time I felt like somebody really like looked out for me. And
Right.
I don't know that I ever told her that. I haven't seen her in a very long time. But like that is definitely like a standout moment for me. I did the match, but I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I also wore underwear that were bigger than my gear bottoms just to prove a point.
You did that.
And I think I wore like my pantyhose under there too, so they really didn't see anything. But that was always my thing. Like I had a rule, like I wouldn't, if I wasn't comfortable rewatching what I did in front of my dad and my little brothers, I probably shouldn't be doing it. So that is a rule that I've stuck with over the years. And like at the end of the day, I probably have burnt bridges and missed out on some bookings and some opportunities, but I've got self-respect
That's right. You can look yourself in the mirror.
exactly. I can look at myself in the mirror and I'm proud of myself and I'm happy with my decisions and I can live with that.
Absolutely. And I mean that's something to definitely be respected, because not everybody in that situation would stand up for what they believe in. They just be like, oh, okay, my boss wants to do this and they're going to put me on TV. Let's ride.
Mm-hmm.
But another fun fact, I may or may not have rewatched the match in anticipation for our interview for journalistic purposes only. And I have never seen someone sprint up the ramp as fast as you did after having the gown pulled off. I mean, pew, you were gone.
Yeah. Out of here.
You were gone.
Speaking of running, I don't know if you follow my social media, but
Of course.
I started running 4 days ago. Go me. Way to be
Yes.
consistent. It's very difficult. I am definitely a short distance runner because I was like, I had it in my mind that I could run a whole mile without stopping and I'd be really good at it. No. I probably made it to 0.2, I think it was 0.23.
Oh,
So like quarter mile, and I was already like,
you told Instagram you got a half a mile. You better not.
oh gosh.
Kayfabe. She ran a half a mile.
Correction. I got to half a mile, and then I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it, and I was just like, "What's going on, body? Come on, keep up."
That is
But-
amazing.
To be fair, I've got asthma and allergies, and pollen right now is just crazy. So we're gonna go with that.
There you go. And Florida humidity. We can always just blame it on Florida
Yes.
humidity.
Give me all the excuses.
Oh, I got you, Santana. I got you. Maybe the evening gown situation wasn't a highlight of your career, but shortly after that, maybe was. July 2nd, 2015, you actually beat Barbie Hayden for the NWA Women's Championship. How big of a moment in your career was that? Because obviously you had some years in the business. Riley is pretty excited about the NWA title.
There's either she's very excited about it. There's either an Amazon delivery right now or she just really wants dinner.
That is all right by me. Like I said, you had been on the road. You had been in the business for a while. You had won multiple titles on the independent circuit by that time. but the NWA title, has a lot of legacy and a lot of prestige. How big of a moment was that for you, personally and professionally, to be trusted to have that title put on you?
It was, it was incredible and a dream come true, honestly, because we talked about when I first started and before I even had my first match, seeing Mischief. And at the time,
Yeah.
she was the NWA World Women's Champion. And
Call back.
that was the moment that I was like, she is so cool. And like, I want to be that. And so, fast forward, you do the math, however many years, I won the NWA World Women's Championship.
Yeah.
I am that. Like I check that off the list, And so now it was just like maintaining the title and seeing where it could take me and what I could do with it.
Yeah. And you did maintain that title for 314 days. You're welcome.
That's right. That's
Look
right.
at that. Obviously, your dad being a promoter in St. Louis in that area in the Midwest, that had to be a pretty big deal for him as well, seeing his daughter win the NWA title.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a dream come true for both of
us. After that, you actually went to Japan for a while. You had 2 tours in Japan for Stardom. You worked with a ton of Japanese legends and current WWE superstars. Io Shirai, who's now Io Sky,
love her.
Kairi Sane. And then there's my personal favorite, and I think she's a favorite of yours too. In your second stint, you did a lot of tag team wrestling with everyone's favorite Karen, Chelsea Green.
Who's that? Never heard of her.
Yeah, right?
Just kidding. We got our nails done together yesterday.
I love Chelsea so much. She is the sweetest. Do you have any fun stories from you guys' time in Japan? Because I remember following you guys both on social, because I've been a fan of Chelsea since she was Jada in Vancouver. And obviously I've been a fan of yours since the beginning of your career. So I remember seeing you guys kind of forge that friendship on social media. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. I mean, Chelsea is one of the best people I've ever met. Chelsea's one of the best people I've ever met, and she will be in my life forever. And I think like she was probably my real first friend that I made in wrestling. Like true, genuine friend. It wasn't, oh, we're talking about wrestling and, shows and all things wrestling related. No, it was like a deeper level. We would listen to our Sam Hunt. We would meal prep together. We would, walk, the park. And she was super, super new. I had been around for a little while. So I feel like, I don't know, we kind of helped elevate each other at that time. And it's been obviously very cool to see how much she's grown. And we've been able to maintain our friendship over the years to the point we both shared an apartment together. We slept on an air mattress together for a while because our apartment wasn't ready. She had moved from Canada. I think the carpet was being redone or something. So we slept on an air mattress for a month that was half deflated. So we've got lots of great memories. When she broke her collarbone, I think that was in India, but then she had to go back to Japan. I offered to braid her hair. I think I did braid her hair, but did a terrible job. And no, we've just maintained our friendship. I was in her wedding. She was in my wedding. She threw me in the pool during my wedding. And so when it was her turn and we went out and did the fireworks outside and it was freezing cold, we're next to the pool and she looks at me, she's like, you can do it. And I said, I would tease her for years saying like, okay, when it's your wedding, you are going into a body of water, whether it's a pool or an ocean or whatever, you are, just be ready. And I didn't do it, but it was an ongoing
Santana
joke.
Again.
Yeah, you know what?
I love that so much because, like I said, Chelsea is the best. You two together, that makes sense to me. You guys are both such wonderful human beings. After Japan, obviously, and we're coming to the end of the greatest hits. I'm sure you're getting bored with me.
No,
After you come home from Japan, you worked you were always on the indies, but you started working like the top tier indies. I mean, House of Glory in New York, Wrestle Pro, MLW, Ring of Honor. And then you were popping in here and there, like you said, you were kind of doing a little in and out dance with NXT at that
Yeah.
time. Then 2019 comes, and finally we get Santana Garrett signed to like a full blown contract with NXT. How exciting was that? Number one. And then was it a relief after being in and out of that NXT ecosystem for so long to finally get that contract?
Well, I'm just like, well, it's about freaking time because at the time I would always coordinate with Canyon Seaman, and I know he found me so annoying. Like I was just like that like kid that would just like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hey, here. I live 5 minutes down the road. If you need me, call me. I would email him. I was pretty consistent with that. He was like, Santana, still got nothing for ya. And then at one point I had a phone call with him. He'd never tell me, no, there's no hope. Like, cause I would just say like, shoot me straight. Like, I just want to know, you know? And
Yeah.
it was always like, not right now, basically. And
Yeah.
then I had a phone conversation with him, and he was giving me the runaround kind of, and it was like, okay. He's like, it's just like we have girls that look just like you. We have we have got the Bella twins. We have other girls that are 5'5" and have brown eyes and brown hair. And I'm like, okay, I don't accept that. And I said this to him. I don't accept that as an excuse. Like, hair color can be changed. Like I've
Yeah.
been blonde. I'd make a heck of a redhead. And so I'm like, I don't accept that. And I feel like he kind of liked that.
Yeah.
He kind of like that. But I also feel like email versus a phone call versus a actual conversation, like there's a big
Yes.
difference. Like
Yes.
I feel like I have a personality, I have charisma, I can speak. Like I think I'm a freaking catch. And I'm just like waiting for these people to notice. Everybody else, every company I've ever worked for, they all knew it.
Yeah.
They all put their championships on me, and I'm just like notice me. Gosh darn it. Like I am a freaking catch and you're missing out. And I'm begging you. And so finally, yeah, it was cool. I really enjoyed my time on the indies. Like it was just like that time in my life. Like I enjoyed the travel. I enjoyed just the meeting the fans. That's one of my favorite parts is the meet and greets. Like I love meeting the fans, especially the little kids. Like they have my heart. But like I was thrilled. I was thrilled when I finally got the call, and I'll tell you what happened leading up to that. I made a post on Instagram saying that I was ready to commit. I'd been on the indies for a long time, and I'd wrestled here, wrestled there, whatever, would do like one-offs or would go to NXT as an extra or whatever.
Right.
And then I finally posted that I was ready to commit. And I had a few different companies reach out to me, major companies reach out to me. And so then I had a little bit of leverage. And I feel like they found out other companies were interested, and then they were like, oh, well, I guess we're interested. So whether it was a pity hire or not, like no takebacks, no takebacks. I'm yours now. But like I was thrilled. Like it was really an exciting time. On the flip side, like this was my dream. I've checked off all these other things on the wrestling bucket list, but it had always been a dream to have a full-time career with WWE, right? My dad actually had passed away earlier that year. So I finally got married that year. My dad passed away a couple months before my wedding, and then I got my dream job. All of it happened in that same year. So as like thrilled and exciting it was for all of these like major moments in my life, like still a part of me, there was a little bit of sadness because my dad wasn't here to witness all of these major milestones that I've just hit. Like he wasn't able to walk me down the aisle. Like he wasn't here to celebrate with me, to congratulate his baby girl getting a contract that she'd
Right.
worked all these years for. So it was definitely like
Bittersweet moment.
bittersweet for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Um I your WWE run, I don't think, or your NXT run wasn't what we all wanted. I don't think it was as
Me
good as it could have
either.
been.
Oh,
I
me
don't know.
either.
I don't know how to say it, Santana. It was not fun for us Santana Garrett fans.
I was the
Um,
ultimate jobber. Let's just call it how it is.
yeah,
Ah,
it sucked. It wasn't fun for us. Like we were straight up not having a good time.
I was
Um,
like, okay, yep, love that
as
idea.
yeah, as long as you're cashing checks, I guess, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I it's like, okay, I'm all about like proving myself
Yeah,
and showing these people what, not just these people as in WWE, but like anyone, like that
right,
I belong here, that I'm capable and that I'm worthy. Like I know it, and in time you'll know it if I'm given the opportunity.
right.
But like it's it's like I don't know. I there were so many different ideas, storylines, whether I pitched it or they had ideas, but nothing ever happened. Like, training at NXT, I was there. I showed up every day. I never complained. I was even like Triple H even commented one day I was working out. I think it was me and Chelsea. He even like I'm a freaking light. Like you can ask anybody. Like I bring good vibes, good energy even at my office here, like outside of wrestling.
Yeah,
I own medical practices with my husband, and like I bring the sunshine. I am the rainbow and sunshine, gosh darn it. And so like he even commented, he's like, "Wow, you guys have such good energy. Like
yeah,
it's really refreshing to see." Where a lot of people are miserable and just like, oh, I'm not getting this or that.
right.
That was never it. Like I've always had such a good attitude and I don't expect anything to be handed to me. I worked for everything my entire life. Like I come from a small town. I come from a broken home. My dad in and out of jail and prison my entire life. My mom working at Walmart since she was 15 years old. Like I don't come from a lot, and I'm very proud of everything that I've built for
Yeah,
myself. And so like
absolutely.
I wasn't looking for handouts. I was ready to like earn the respect and work hard and prove that I belong to be there. Prove that I
Belong
belong
to
to
be
be
there. You
there.
had it.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
yeah,
I'm like that. Why did that sound so weird? But then like so I'd have these like little one-off matches, whatever, and it was just like, okay, just matches. I'm like, okay.
yeah,
Okay, my time will come. It'll eventually be my time to shine. Just waiting.
yeah.
And then eventually I was booked for a match with WWE with Bianca Belair.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still at NXT, but they had brought me in for a match for I don't know if it was
Raw.
Raw.
It was Raw.
Okay, and so Vince McMahon, I wrestled. Vince McMahon said, "Who is that?" He asked, "Who is that girl?" And I got hired. I got moved up to main roster from
Yeah,
my match, from my not only my looks but my ring work. Like
yeah.
I I did it. I got moved up to main roster. Um, and then COVID hit.
Yep.
And
We're
then COVID hit. So it just, that was a time where, like, if you weren't booked, you don't go. Well, I just got moved up to main roster. I had just started, like, right before that, I just started doing the loops with NXT, traveling. And literally after my very first NXT loop, then COVID hit. So moved up to main roster, kind of just sat there for a long time. And it's like, okay, a year and a half, maybe a year
mm,
went by, and finally it was like, month after month, budget cuts, all these releases. And
yeah,
then I think it was May, I don't remember what year, but yeah, finally it was my turn. And I don't know like why they kept me so long, because I wasn't being used and half the people didn't know me. But I do think like my actions maybe were the reason. Like I was respected. Like a lot of the producers and whatnot, they knew, again, going back to my character as a human being, they knew me. Some of them knew
yeah,
my father, and I think they knew what I did on the indies. And So maybe when, it was that time and they were going around saying, going down the list, what about this person? Can we cut this person? Can we cut this person? I think a lot of people were still rooting for me to
Yeah.
have that moment. And unfortunately, like months went by, people were cut, and then it was just my time.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. There were a lot of really, really cool ideas that if they would have happened, I guarantee I would still be there, whether it was a faction or other cool things that they had pitched to me. But it's just, I guess it was not meant to be.
Well, you never say never, right? I mean, until you're not here anymore, the door is never closed.
That is true.
I mean, the highlight, I'm going to assume, and I shouldn't assume, but I'm going to assume maybe the highlight of your WWE tenure maybe would have been your Royal Rumble appearance in 2021.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like you said, COVID was full blown at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in the Thunderdome. It was during that era. What was your experience like, getting to participate in the Royal Rumble? I mean, we were only a couple years in, I believe, to the women even having a Royal Rumble match at that point.
It was super cool. Like, I was honored to be one of the girls selected. And I think at that time I was representing NXT, but I'd already really had been moved up to the main roster.
Yeah.
But I was so excited. I came to training with a ton of cool ideas. Even if you watch it back, like, I feel like the way I got out of the ring was pretty incredible, and it got replayed. I still get royalties on my departure from that ring, with that Royal Rumble. So, I came in with a lot of good ideas, not only for myself, but for other people. And it was a very, very cool experience, and it went by so quickly. Like, that whole night, went by so quickly.
Yeah, you made a mark in that match, and that's all you can really ask in a match like that, is that people remember it. And
yeah, because it's like, okay, you're working, something you have to think about, as a female working on an independent show that you're the only female match. Okay, you're gonna stand out, you don't have to try as hard. But if you're a female working on an all-female show like Shine, Shimmer, any of the all women's events, the Royal Rumble, how are you going to stand out? What are you going to do? Is it going to be a move? Is it going to be a moment? What are you going to do? How are you going to tell the story, and how are you going to stand out? So that was definitely in my mind, and I feel like I did it for the little time that I had in there. Grateful for it. I maximized my time in there. I did it all. I got my round up back handspring in. I came with the ideas. I swooped out. I got kicked into a split and then kicked out of the ring. It was all good. And I was very, very happy. I was very happy with my performance and just the fact that I was able to be in the Royal Rumble.
As Jim Ross always says, you maximized your minutes. That's for darn sure.
Absolutely.
So to kind of start to put a bow on your wrestling career so far.
Yes.
I saw in my research that after your release from WWE, obviously you're married, you're a wife, you're a mom, you're a dog mom, you've got real life things going on. Yeah. So maybe Road Warrior Santana got left in her earlier 20s. Yeah. But I saw that you're kind of starting a comeback tour, looking for collabs. Are you going to Australia next month, I believe?
I am. And you know what? It's been on my bucket list. I feel like there's not a whole lot left to check off my bucket list. And it's been on my bucket list to wrestle in Australia. And I was supposed to before I got signed with WWE. But obviously then that changed things. But I'll be there next month for World Series Wrestling. And we are doing a whole tour. We're hitting Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Sydney, and I cannot wait for it.
Oh, that is amazing. Anybody that's watching this from Australia, and we do have some, make sure, drop what you're doing, go check her out. It's worth it. We're going to plug it at the end of the podcast. Get your tickets, go. That's all I can say is go.
Listen to the man.
Can we expect that schedule? Obviously, like I said, you're never going to be Road Warrior Santana where you're all over the place all the time. But can we expect an uptick in your wrestling appearances? Or are you kind of happy here and there? You know,
You know what? I go back and forth because I love my life. Like I love my life, but wrestling has been a part of my life for so long, and is very much like there's something missing when I don't do it for an extended period of time.
yeah,
So like I need it and I want it. And the more I'm away, the greater the appreciation is
yeah,
for it. You know, I think I go through like highs and lows with it though. Like I a lot of it reminds me of my dad, right? My dad passed
yeah,
away, and so sometimes it's hard, but then it's like we're in control of our minds, and I just have to shift my mindset and say, no, like I'm doing this, like I can continue like his legacy
yeah,
and continue to make
absolutely.
him proud because I know he's watching over me and smiling down and proud of everything I've accomplished inside of the ring and outside just in life.
For sure. Absolutely. I noticed there was a not a controversy, but there was always a question. You got introduced as a coach for the PC at one point. Was
Yes.
that a guest coach spot, or were you full time coaching, training, that sort of thing at the performance center?
So there was talk of a full-time coaching position at NXT, but I also pitched the idea of like a player one coaching slash wrestling position, which now I think they're a little bit more open to,
Yeah.
because I've heard a couple recent hires. So that was a temporary coaching position. I wasn't ready, even though I wasn't wrestling too frequent, I wasn't
Hmm.
ready to totally give up wrestling and just coach. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be being true to myself if I did that.
Right.
However, I enjoyed my time. I love coaching. I feel like I'm just like a natural caregiver and just have that coaching mentality, whether it's
Yes.
with nutrition or counseling or professional wrestling. Like I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I definitely made an impact there. In
Yeah.
the 1 to 2 weeks that I was there, I made connections with these women, these young women, up and comers who have so much talent and passion for the business, but I brought something different because I'm a female. And
Yeah.
again, I've been in their shoes. So it's not just, okay, now we're going to do monkey flips and suplexes today. It's no, let's talk about locker room etiquette. Let's talk
Yeah.
about gear. Let's talk about social media. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about how we call a match without coming off disrespectful. When we don't want to do something, it's
Right.
all these other things. And I think like a lot of the girls kept in touch with me for a long time. I'm still in touch with some of the girls. And so I know I made an impression and they made an impression on me, and I think like if given the opportunity again, I would do it, but I would want to player one. Like I still have so much to offer.
Yeah.
I I could still go in the ring. Like I'm not too shabby on the eyes either. So when I brushed my hair, what's funny? Actually, I didn't brush my hair for this virtual interview, but I did put on some perfume. You're
Hey.
welcome. You're
Hey.
welcome.
Smell of vision. We
Yeah, right.
appreciate it.
But like I still have something to offer. So
Yeah.
I think if like a player one position was offered to me, I take it.
Okay. And obviously, WWE isn't the only place you've coached. You've been a trainer in your past,
Yeah.
and like you said, like a player one type deal where you've wrestled and trained. So is that something that fulfills you? Not maybe something you want to do full time, but do you
Yes.
find training and mentoring to be fulfilling?
100%. Like I love it. I feel like it's a form of giving back, and yeah, I've enjoyed. I've helped a lot of people, and like there are things that I don't post, and some people are like, oh, you should be posting this stuff because that's gonna like get the attention, or that's gonna, you posting with this person, that's gonna like that, that'll get you further to the top. But that's just not me. Like I don't need the credit. Like I
That
don't
right,
need
the
it. Like
accolades.
I
You don't
I
need
know
it.
what I've done for these different people. Like I've groomed so many people for their WWE tryouts. I've groomed so many girls for their ref spot tryouts with WWE, like, or other companies. Like I've done a lot for women's wrestling, and people may know it, people may not, and the girls that I have helped, like, they're grateful.
As long as they know it, that's what's most important.
And yeah, and they'll forever be one of my girls. So
Well, I'm going to leave you alone on the wrestling front. We are going to talk about some fun stuff, and we're going to wrap this thing up real soon, I promise.
that's okay. We're having fun.
I have a fun little segment called the Fan's Eye View where I like to show my guest a picture or two. In your case, it's going to be 3, and just get like a quick story about it or a quick memory. You know, it doesn't have to be much.
Okay.
But we're going to take a little stroll down memory lane. First one is a favorite of mine because of who you're in the picture with.
Oh, Amber.
Who is that young lady?
Yes, Amber O'Neil. She was my first tag partner in WoW Wrestling, and she was just one of my favorite people. We had such a connection. She was like a sister to me, and that was just a really, really fun time with her experience and her knowledge. It was just like, it was a sisterhood, and we remained friends for a very long time. Unfortunately, like, I feel like when my dad passed, I lost a lot of relationships. I feel like that, and that's on me. Like, I just kind of stopped responding to some of my friends. And Amber always really reminded me of my dad. Like she could be my father's daughter. Like, she is like female version of my dad, where she just kind of, speaks her mind and
lets it rip. Yep.
Yep. And that was very much my dad. And so I think part of it was that, like, we had a little bit of a just distance between us.
Okay. Well, that's understandable. Life
but
happens,
I love
right?
her. She will always be in my heart. I love her so much.
Oh my goodness. And speaking of wonderful women that have been in your life, let's throw this up on the screen.
Ooh, may the 4th be with you.
That is a who's who there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Love this. We look like we look good. Okay. This is nice. This is a nice combination. We've got the virtuoso Diana. We've got Xia Li. We've got Chelsea Green Tea. And then there I am. Okay, this was at NXT, probably on one of the shows that we didn't get used on, and that's okay. So we decided to take a photo, do a photo shoot instead, and eat the catering and yummy cookies. But yeah, man, blast from the past.
I'm telling you.
And you know what? I still keep in touch with all these girls. Actually, I think I talked to Chelsea yesterday. She just had lunch with Xia yesterday.
That's awesome. It's so good to see that you guys are still, still being crazy these days. Yeah. That's the best way I can put it. I know Chelsea is out of her mind in the best way possible.
She's a little cuckoo, but we love her. You know what's funny? So my some of my girlfriends, but work friends, their kids love wrestling, and so obviously they love me and they say I'm their favorite. But they're watching what's on TV right now while Chelsea's on TV. One of the little boys was like, yeah. When the mom asked, "Do you like Chelsea Green?" The little boy was like, "Yeah, I like her, but she's kind of weird." And I thought that was really funny. I'm like, "Yeah, well, accurate." Yeah.
I was about to say, if they only knew the real Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's funny how many, I can't even count how many championships we have in that picture. We got 3 companies represented. We got an independent star represented. I mean, that picture is
powerful.
Wow, I'm telling you.
I just saw Deanna like a week or 2 ago too. So
yeah, she's over there kicking ass on a kicking
yes,
butt.
Is.
Look at me cursing on a Santana interview.
Terrible. How dare I? The nerve.
But she's killing it over there in AEW for sure. And then last but not least, we have this young lady.
Oh, that's in Barcelona, I think. I think that's in Barcelona. That was when Stardom teamed up. Yeah, I got my Stardom tracksuit jacket around my waist. Yep. I was doing photo shoots in the streets of Barcelona, and that day I did a lot of walking. And anytime there's a random dog, somebody walking a dog, I have to stop and pet. And that's everyone in my family, my son, my husband. Like, we always Like, if anything, they're probably worse than I am, but that's always been my thing. I remember like shortly after this photo, I think I found like a little corgi and hung out with the corgi and got to pet the corgi for a few minutes before I was on to the next photo shoot spot.
So you were just walking around Barcelona, full gear, headband of
Yep,
power, and everything, huh?
sure was.
I'd love that. That's so on brand for Santana Garrett. Santana, this is my favorite part of the interview. I have 3 questions left for you. We're going
Okay.
home with this thing. I love this part because Santana Garrett in the ring is fantastic, and if we're watching this, we're all a fan of yours. But not everybody knows like Santana Garrett outside of the ring, and that's what I want to do right here. You're always such a happy, optimistic person. Like you said, you are rainbows and sunshine personified. Whether it be wrestling related or life related, do you have like a favorite piece of advice or like a go-to piece of advice that just it resonates with you and you've always held on to it?
Um, well, one of my favorites right now, like my dad always had the best, like, well, the best and the worst. Some of his didn't make sense, and I feel like sometimes try to say quotes and I get like a word wrong. Like I did one the other day, and my husband's like, "I think you mean this." I'm like, "Okay, but you still understood what
You
I
knew
was
what I
trying
meant,
to say,
right?
right?"
Yeah.
I think I said something about like walking their shoes. Something along the lines of that, but I said it wrong. But anyway, one that I like as far as like self-love goes is that you can't pour from an empty cup. So outside of wrestling, like we own medical practices where we specialize in weight loss, but we do coaching, counseling, and that's something that I'm always preaching to our clients is, you have to fill your cup first, and be
Yeah.
good. That way you can be good for everybody else. So that's probably my current favorite. And I'm all about self-love. I'm all about women empowerment. But I mean, I've got tons. Like if you look up my Instagram, my stories, I'm always putting quotes up.
Yes.
Another one that I really like is, it's The Greatest Showman. Nobody's ever made a difference by being like everybody else. Something like that. Celebration of humanity. Like I just love affirmations, and I love positivity. And I feel like because I see it, I speak it, it just comes back to me. I absorb it. So
I love that. So, with this being the Fans View podcast, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, what are you a fan of when you're not wrestling, when you're not making gear?
ooh,
What are you a fan of?
chicken and waffles. Why is that the first thing that came to my mind?
I
But
don't know,
yeah,
but now I'm hungry.
I'm a big fan of chicken and waffles. You just never know. Like sometimes they're sweet, sometimes they're spicy. Like they're
I'm here
different
for
everywhere
it.
you go.
I'm here
So
for it.
yep, chicken and waffles is one. But also, I it's on my list this year. I'm writing a children's book and working on a product for kids.
Oh, cool.
I'm in like the health and wellness field, so it will be related to that. Um, Along with the children's book that goes with it, and I'd like to get into schools and kind of talk about health, wellness, read my book, and then a portion of it to go to a children's charity. So that's kind of in the works right now.
That is awesome.
And then aside from that, like I enjoy sewing. This is actually my sewing room. Half of the room is my son's playroom. Half the room is my sewing room. So like I make all of my own wrestling outfits. I just made my little sister a dance outfit. I make dog bandanas and whatever random things. I actually just partnered up with literally this morning. I saw that there was a need for little cancer pillows, port pillows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I emailed the company and I said, the charity event, and I said, how can I help? I have an excess, an abundance of material. I can either donate or I can make some stuff. But it's called Beyond Basic Needs. And so I'm going to be teaming up with them and just kind of donating some materials, and time and making some port pillows for cancer patients. So that's something that is a
Babyface
new passion
Santana.
project, but something I'm
That's
excited about.
that's awesome. Babyface Santana strikes again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And here we go. The last but not least question. This is my favorite question, and I know you're going to knock this one out of the park because there's no wrong answer. At this stage of your wrestling career, at this stage of your life, like we've said, you're a wife, you're a mother. What does the word success mean to you?
I didn't even have to think about it. It's success to me is just being happy and healthy, and I'm both of those. And this year especially, I really made it a point to strive for both of those things even more, because look, we don't want to sit in one place. We don't want to be complacent. We always want to grow and evolve. And so that was kind of that's my mission this year. It's the year of health and wellness, so I've teamed up with a couple different companies, whether it's Quicksilver Scientific for supplements, or Pulse PMF for like a wellness mat, or Sunlight and for sauna, like and what we do businesses outside of wrestling. Like, this is the year of health and wellness. But I feel like at the end of the day, if I look back on my life and my accomplishments, I'm very, very proud. I don't think a lot of people can say that they had a dream when they were in the first grade and they followed it, they pursued it, and everything came true. And I can say that. Like, I'm so proud of myself. And I know, like, my dad's proud of me and my family's proud of me. And I think, there were people that have doubted me over the years, and I think they're proud of me too.
Absolutely. I knew you'd give me such a good answer. And for what it's worth, us fans of you, are proud of you as well.
Thank you.
It's very nice when you can believe in somebody and you can support somebody and they don't disappoint you and they don't give you, I don't have to defend my fandom of Santana Garrett to anyone. Well, she
Yeah.
did this. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no. So as a fan from all of us, we
Yeah.
appreciate you. And we
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I appreciate
And
you.
I personally, I just want to tell you how much I really appreciate you coming on here. You gave me so much more time than I ever
Yay.
expected you
Good.
to. Before you go though, where can people get at you on social media? Your Instagram, all that fun stuff.
Most of my social media platforms, they go back to Santana Garrett. So
Okay.
follow me and watch my stories. Like, I do my stories. I'm fun.
She is fun. She is as beautiful inside as she is on the outside.
Yeah.
And she's pretty darn beautiful on the outside, folks.
Oh, thank you.
But with that said, again, Santana, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully sometime we could do this again.
For sure. Yes, we can. And maybe it won't take 10 years to do it.
Hey, maybe not, but if it does, it'll be well worth it again.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. And Riley, she says, "Okay, fella, time's up. It's an hour
it's
past
feeding
dinner
time.
Okay?
It's feeding time. I'm so sorry, Riley.
Let him know. You want food? You want food?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Riley, you want food? You want food?
Well, guys, until next time, thanks to Santana Garrett. Thank you all for watching. And last but not least, most importantly, don't forget, call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.